like the mountains in springtime.
What if I told you that the golden boy of folk music, the voice that once calmed America with songs about sunshine and country roads, died under the shadow of secrets? What if the final chapter of John Denver's life wasn't just a tragic accident, but a chilling sequence of oversights, heartbreak, and ignored warnings? Why would a man so full of life, known for his love of nature, risk it all in an experimental plane with a known defect? And why was no one there to stop it?
The country rock singer died after the experimental plane he was piloting crashed into the Pacific just after takeoff.
Join us as we dive deep into the haunting mystery behind the life and death of John Denver, a man who soared to fame but fell from the sky, quite literally. This is not just a story of music. It's a story of obsession, pressure, and an ending no one saw coming. Or perhaps some did. The rise of a country dreamer. John Denver wasn't born in a log cabin or raised in a mountain town, though you'd be forgiven for thinking so based on his music. He was born Henry John Deutschendorf Jr. Swing on December 31, 1943 in Roswell, New Mexico. Yes, the same Roswell famous for UFOs. His father, a decorated Air Force pilot, kept the family moving constantly, from base to base, never letting them put down roots. You might say John grew up chasing the horizon, and maybe that's what made him fall in love with the skies and the vastness of nature. When he was just 11 years old, his grandmother handed him a guitar. Seems ordinary, right? But that moment shaped history. That guitar became his escape, his voice, his identity. In college at Texas Tech, he started shaping that voice. Inspired by Elvis, the Beatles, and 60s folk music, he dropped out and moved to Los Angeles, chasing stardom with the name John Denver, chosen out of admiration for the Colorado capital he'd come to love like a second home. His big break came not as a singer, but as a songwriter. Ever heard "Leaving on a Jet Plane"? Most people associate it with Peter, Paul, and Mary, but it was John's song. It launched him, quite literally, into the stratosphere of music. And then the hits came crashing in. From "Take Me Home Country Roads" to "Rocky Mountain High," "Annie's Song," and "Sunshine on My Shoulders," Denver's music captured a gentle, idealistic vision of America that resonated across generations. But what most people didn't know was that behind the gentle smile was a man constantly searching for purpose, for peace, and for control. Love, loss, and the shadows. Behind the spotlight, John Denver was not just a singer. He was an actor, a humanitarian, an activist, and an environmentalist. He starred in "Oh God" alongside George Burns, testified before Congress against music censorship, and even campaigned for space exploration. He was a dreamer in every sense, but dreaming comes with a cost. He loved Colorado. It was more than a home, it was his muse. He wrote "Rocky Mountain High" after a camping trip with friends. The state loved him back, so much that it named him Poet Laureate and even made "Rocky Mountain High" an official state song. Yet, Denver's personal life was more complicated than his lyrics suggested. His first marriage to Annie Martell, the inspiration behind Annie's Song, seemed like the stuff of legends. But fame is a double-edged sword. The pressures of constant touring, media attention, and rising expectations eroded their relationship. By 1982, they divorced. Ever hear about the chainsaw incident? Yes, after their split, Denver reportedly cut their bed in half with a chainsaw to mark the end of their marriage. The warm-hearted singer had a darker, more impulsive side, one the public rarely saw. His second marriage to actress Cassandra Delaney seemed promising at first, but it too ended bitterly in 1993. He later claimed she had made a fool of him from one end of the valley to the other. Ouch. But one thing was constant. John loved being a father. He adopted 2 children with Annie, Zachary and Anna Kate, and later had a daughter, Jessie Bell, with Cassandra. He once said, "When I die, If I'm remembered as Zachary and Anna Kate's father, that's more than enough for me. Despite the failed marriages and rising inner turmoil, John Denver remained a symbol of peace and environmental advocacy. But not all was calm inside. He battled depression, emotional fatigue, and the weight of his public image. While singing about sunshine, he was often wrestling with shadows. If you're captivated by the untold stories behind Hollywood's biggest names, hit that like button, subscribe to Legend Discovery, and ring the bell. We uncover what others leave out, the truths that make the legends human. The Fall from the Sky. Now, we come to the part that still leaves fans shaking their heads, not just in grief, but in disbelief. October 12, 1997. The news flashed across every screen in America. John Denver had died in a plane crash off the coast of Monterey Bay, California. He was piloting his own experimental aircraft, a Rutan Long-EZ, when it went down. At first, authorities blamed pilot error, but was it really that simple? Over the years, details emerged. Dark, troubling details. The kind that make you wonder, could this have been prevented? Turns out Denver had complained about the fuel selector valve on the plane. Its position was awkward, hard to reach. On that day, investigators say he likely ran out of fuel in the active tank but couldn't switch in time. The engine stalled. The plane went into the ocean. But that's not all. The aircraft design itself had flaws. Safety features were lacking. Warnings were overlooked. Denver, though an experienced pilot, had not received proper instruction on the aircraft's unique quirks. There's more. In the years before his death, Denver had his pilot's license suspended for drunk driving. Although no alcohol or drugs were found in his system at the time of the crash, his history was enough to raise eyebrows and questions. Why was a man with such a history flying a high-risk plane alone? And why was no one, not the FAA, not his inner circle, watching out for him? Some say it was the perfect storm: mechanical error, poor design, pilot fatigue, and emotional weight. Others whisper of negligence, not just on Denver's part, but on those who built and regulated the aircraft. Denver's death was not just a tragedy, it was a scandal. John Denver once sang, "I know he'd be a poorer man if he never saw an eagle fly." He saw the eagle. He was the eagle, soaring above mountains and expectations, chasing purity in a chaotic world. But even eagles can fall. His legacy is complicated, a legend with flaws, a voice of peace who faced inner battles, a nature lover who died in a machine he couldn't fully control. Yet, his music still plays. His words still comfort. His story still teaches. If there's one lesson in John Denver's fall, it's this: even those who seem to have it all, love, fame, purpose, are still human. And sometimes, the most beautiful songs come from the deepest pain. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with others who believe every legend has a truth worth uncovering.